we're getting ready to plant a container tomato in this pot. And the first thing we're going to do is, as we're preparing to plant, is we're going to make sure that our seedling is nicely soaked and giving it some water, so when it goes into that pot in a few minutes, it won't be shocked. So I'm setting that over there and letting that water absorb in there. I've got my soil medium here. I've got potting mix, a nice mix of potting mix, peat moss, and a little bit of compost that I put here in the wheelbarrow. I'm going to wet this down right now. Let that get ready to be put into the pot as well. And you can go ahead and, after you wet that, you can mix that in a little bit to incorporate the moisture into the soil. And while that's setting down, getting all settled, you can see here in the bottom of the pot, I have added some gravel. You can add any other kind of drainage material that will work for you. Some people use corn cobs. Some people use cut up pieces of newspaper, even styrofoam peanuts, although that's probably not as environmentally friendly. You can see here that I have this pot about a little more than 3/4 full with my potting medium mix, and I'm going to add a handful here of just general purpose fertilizer. 10-10-10 will work, just a little handful here. Mix that all in, incorporate it. Got to give your container tomatoes a good start, give them lots of food, and then in the center, make a depression of a hole. You're going to want to make it a little bit deeper than the depth of the tomato that you're going to plant. And you can see here I've got this plant started, this tomato. This is the tumbling tom. And I'm going to squeeze the sides because we've got, I think, a fairly good root system here. Oh yes. And you don't want to just dump that into the pot. You want to allow that tomato to expand its roots a little bit as soon as possible. So you can kind of just gently pull them apart. That'll help the tomato get acclimated to its new environment. And we're going to try to set that right about there in the middle. Fill in and press that down. And then we're going to use our little shovel, trowel, or I have a little mini spade here, which is really useful. We're just going to fill in around the edges of that pot so that that container is nice and full with a good draining, a good medium. It's a real good reason you don't want to use a whole lot of regular garden soil in containers, and that's because garden soil contains a lot of funguses and weed seeds, so the more sterile of a medium you can use, the better. And by adding compost, you're adding some good food to the soil. Get that all pressed down. And in a moment I'm going to re-water everything, but before I do that, I'm going to add a layer of mulch. Now this is a little bit different from when you plant your tomatoes in the garden. When you plant your tomatoes outside in the garden, you're going to wait 2 to 5 weeks to put mulch around your plants in the garden. And that's to help them get settled. But when you have a container, watering is one of the most important things about it, to keep it watered, because obviously the roots can't go any deeper than what you have in the container. So allowing the water to stay in the pot and not be evaporated is really important. So you can go ahead and just put a real nice layer, 1 inch or 2 of mulch around your plant. You don't want to mulch to the stem. Give a little room there, and that'll allow water to pool there and go down. And since you put your gravel in the bottom, you're going to have real good drainage. And you saw the hole in the bottom of the pot as well. Press that all down. Give it another little drink. first day, you're going to set your container in a shaded area or an area under a table. Don't want to put it in the direct sun the first day or two because it's still getting over the shock of moving from its little cup into the container. So treat it with a little TLC at first.